Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Spar and Brawl. I hope you're having a decent day. As always, I'm joined by my co-host Sam. We're back with a new episode of the Four Corners of Geopolitics. So this is our show where we discuss some geopolitical or more political stories that have happened over the past few days and past few weeks. And yeah, talk about them, break them down, provide some analysis, perhaps if we have some, if not, just discuss them. So this is going to be a relatively short one. You can find timestamps down below as per usual. And please like and subscribe. We're going to start with a story on Iraq, talk about the Iran nuclear deal as usual, talk about Nancy Pelosi's visit to China and just more generally geopolitics concerning China and the US, and then also talk a little bit about Russia, Ukraine, and the coverage of the war. Okay, Sam, all good?
Yeah, sure.
Shall we? Do you want to get us started, especially with this first story?
Yeah. So there has been a crisis brewing in Iraq for the last month or so. I believe I mentioned it in our last Four Corners of Geopolitics or something. But Muqtada Saad, if you go down a bit, the picture of you see the mullah there, the
Yep.
main mullah in the poster. He's Muqtada Saad. His family is a Lebanese Iranian family, highly prestigious and all that. And he got his coalition, or the coalition he backed, got the most votes in the parliament, right? I believe. But there is other, but it wasn't majority vote. It was barely like plurality. It was around 30%. So then you got, he's a Shia. He was the leader of Mehdi's army who fought America at some point. And then now he's in conflict with the Iranian backed parties headed by Nouri al-Maliki, who is a former prime minister of Iraq, and to an extent Kurdish groups. He tried to form an alliance with Kurdish and Sunnis. He failed, and now twice at least he's called for protest in every city. He's called for early elections last week and all that. So he's trying to be Khomeini of Iraq. He's trying to become a leader of. He's trying to stand up for Iraq nationalism. Which, I'm sorry to any Iraqi or whoever is watching, it's bullshit. Just like Lebanese nationalism is bullshit. Just like even Syrian is a bit more dodgy, but even that Saudi Arabian nationalism is bullshit. I'm sorry, but if your nation came about about 1950s or 60s, it's not really you know what I mean? Like, it's not gonna work, your nationalism. And I believe Iraqi nationalism came about largely in 1950s. So he's really trying to become a Khomeini of Iraq and independent Iraq and all that. But according to most analysts, and now Kurdish officials have announced partnership for Iran. So he's fucked, basically. He's gonna get if there is the next election, he's gonna get fucked by all the other Shia cat groups and Kurdish groups. So that's what's going on in Iraq.
Because he's
Fine.
appealing to Iraqi nationalism as opposed to other forms of
Yeah,
narratives. And
basically has 5 supporters in Iraq and in Baghdad and Jeddah, or what? Sorry, not Jeddah,
yeah,
Najaf. So he's fucked. He
yeah,
keeps thinking Iraq is a real country like Iran. It's not. Sorry to let you know.
but yeah, I see. Okay, anything else to add here?
No, it's just that was it.
Okay, let's move on to the nation that you believe, I guess, has a history of
It's
nationalism.
a real nation. It doesn't mean it's any less worse than Iraq or any less more competent or anything like that. It's a shithole, just like the whole fucking planet is. But yeah, I must say I'm not. I kind of like the Iranian position right now, and I feel bad because I'm Iranian, so I don't want to defend Iranian. I feel like I'm like being, but basically, a couple of days ago, in Iranian media and American media, there was this news. Oh, Iranians going back to Vienna. There's gonna be Vienna starting talk. Oh, after 5 months, Vienna talks are starting again. Oh my God, Iranian gonna make some concessions to Europe. They're gonna give us free gas. But then a day after, pretty much everybody who was in negotiations, all the Europeans came out, three nations of Europe. And who do you think are the three nations of Europe, by the way? Come on.
Tell me.
Come on.
Tell me.
You can guess. Come on. You can guess these three.
France, Germany, and
Yes. Come on.
Italy?
No, England.
England.
UK. Europe, not EU. They came out and they said, the Iranian offer is not acceptable. We urge Iran to do an offer that is within the boundaries of the G7 people. Blah, 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 blah. Go fuck yourself. So, yeah.
I see.
Yeah, that's Iranian action, right? Like Europeans still think they matter. Like after recent events, everybody knows that Europe does not matter. You're there, like Florida governor DeSantis has more influence on his foreign policy than UK or France. Maybe UK, but definitely more than France. He can like, he can have a extreme policy against Cuba that completely contradicts the US government. But France cannot. France is a bitch, just like the rest of Europe. So bitches should shut the fuck up.
All right, Sam. So let's move on to our next story and talk about China-US relations. But first, I mean that's a headline of the video here, but we're going to talk about realism a bit as well. But yeah, why do you think Nancy Pelosi took this trip? I mean, this person here, this professor here, was
Stephen Walt.
Do you know him?
Yeah, he's very famous among internationalist relations. He's so there is a school of thought in international relations called the Realist School, and the major modern, I'm not talking about the ancient or medieval, but the modern figure is Kenneth Waltz. But the two major figures that emerge after him are Stephen Walt and John Mearsheimer, who I'm sure a lot of people have heard of, the guy who gave this speech about gave a lecture about Ukraine. Very famous, everybody.
Nice.
Yeah. And so that's the background on Steve. Oh, sorry, what was your question?
So I was gonna get to so he's that guy. And then so why do you think, I mean, he was saying, for instance, Nancy Pelosi, of course, the White House and Biden, it didn't seem like, I mean, I wasn't too sure because I didn't follow too closely, but I wasn't sure if that's something they supported or not. So, I mean, why would she decide randomly to do this? Like, what does she gain from this?
Well, there is two things. There is the one thing is that her husband is a millionaire who's invested, according to some reports, I haven't really looked into the details, but who's invested in super chips that are used in computers, mobile phones, blah blah, that are largely produced in Taiwan. So there may be a personal angle there. Besides that, you have to remember who elects Nancy Pelosi as opposed to who elects the American president. They have different
So you think in California, the people who elected her, there's a strong enough, there's a demand for such a thing for her to go?
Not demand for such a thing, but in California, specifically in San Francisco, where she's a representative, I do think you can gaslight people slightly more than other areas by saying that I went to Taiwan and I stood up for democracy.
But why would they care about that? They would care about that?
Yeah, because they're rich people in San Francisco that largely they have their needs taken care of, and all the like some of the bullshit they get. Like San Francisco is not weird. Not talking about, I don't know, Detroit, or you know what I mean. It's not a
Yeah, sure,
bankrupt
but I
city.
didn't
It's a
think
very
like,
well off.
but I mean, then caring about this kind of cause, I don't really see the too much. I mean, see what you're saying, but yeah, it's not as straightforward.
By the way, I'm not even. I don't think that's true even for most San Franciscans or what they're called. I think among Democratic voters in San
Yeah, I'm
Francisco, though,
surprises
this
me.
is the shit that
Wow.
would play, because the significant numbers of them are older, they're financially well off, or even their children maybe even financially okay, maybe not as well off as their parents. So I think that was the main goal for Nancy Pelosi. Not to mention that she can play this to get more funding from military industrial complex, more,
Yeah.
leveraging that word. So there are other things too. So
Yeah, perhaps still though. I mean, all these things, given how stable she is, I mean, her position, I mean, maybe did she need this? It was, I don't know. But yeah, I guess she decided to go do it.
that's a need is a very elastic term, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, I know
I
that's true.
need to watch the next Batman movie. I really do, but But I would add, the more interesting
Yeah,
point
yeah,
was that
for sure.
I think it's like we talk about Democrats. I mean, that's all bullshit. But in an academic sense, if you do international relations, the main two ideas you're confronted with is liberalism and realism. Liberalism, put simply, is arguing that if we have international institutions that mediate our discussions, our negotiations, we can we can definitely solve most of our problems. And realism is saying no, we have to take nation states as black boxes and as single entities, and then we can decide on better actions and better decisions and all that, right?
Well, in fact, yeah, for sure. And I would say also, I mean, based on my understanding, liberalists don't only say that, we have to use international
Yes, they
organization
encourage that.
institutions. Not only encourage, but they say now it is the case. Like now we have moved on to a position where there are powerful corporations and powerful international organization. So it is also like the current
Corporations is a bit
reality.
corporations is a bit in a gray area
I
with
know it's not
liberals, and
said often, but like perhaps it should.
yeah,
But anyway, they want to say that that is also the new reality, and like the world that realists
that's
think
yes,
that it is the nations that is the most
it's not
powerful and
reality.
country. But realists, yeah, on top of saying no, of course not, countries are still the most powerful. But it is they also often believe that, of course, it is also like the best way to achieve the objectives of all
Exactly.
countries. Yeah.
And generally, when you look at reality, there is overwhelming evidence that realists are right. Realists are the
100%.
ones. I would argue maybe in 90s, late 80s, you could argue that liberalism was seen to having a moment, but no, realist seems to be right on. But
Except
then again,
corporations,
there is
and
a difference.
depending on how you look at
That's
corporations
wait.
and their role.
That
Yeah.
exactly.
How they
That's
fit
where
into the
I
picture.
I, I was lucky enough to go to a Sussex University, which is a very left-wing university, and I then went to London School of Economics, which is a bit middle sort of ground type thing. And in this video, I highly recommend, if anybody has the time, to watch the whole video. There's a bit where the guy says, the interviewers asks Stephen Wall, why do you think Nancy Pelosi is doing this? And he keeps saying, I don't know actually why she's doing this. It doesn't seem to serve the
Mm-hmm.
interest of
Yeah, he
American
says that in the right
country.
beginning.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's very early on. It doesn't seem. Well, maybe you can play a bit.
Yeah, it's right here. Hold on,
House.
play it.
I know that you see the international system.
It's going to play out. What I think has bothered many people and bothered the executive branch here was that it was a largely symbolic visit. It wasn't connected to any
Executive
particular
branch, Biden.
strategy we have for managing our relationship with China or dealing with China as a potential rival. And in a sense, it was a symbolic step that was nonetheless a real red flag to Beijing, and an issue that they, made it very clear they were going to be very unhappy about at a moment where the Chinese are dealing with some leadership issues, an economic slowdown. And I think the thing that worried people most about this is it's happening at a particularly inopportune time where the United States is already deeply immersed as a supporter of Ukraine in its war with Russia. And the last thing the Biden administration, or indeed the world, needs is to raise the temperature in Asia. If you were doing that with a clear strategic purpose, you really knew, what the purpose of this was, how it was going to.
I think that's good enough, no?
Fair enough. Yeah. No, that's the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
He talks about. That's the thing. Realists, they call themselves realists, and maybe that's why it became. I used to think when I was in my undergraduate years, I was a realist. I was a blah blah blah, but and I believe I went through the same evolution that E.H. Carr went. So there is nothing original, or there is nothing unique about me. I'm a fucking idiot who just found some, or thinks he found some things out. But I think this video is a great example, and I might be wrong in my own beliefs or whatever, but this video is a great example of the limits of realist international theory. He's like, I don't understand why Speaker Nancy Pelosi went there. Well, if you had maybe a slightly more critical view, or maybe slightly more Marxist view, you would understand, because you can differentiate between the interest of Nancy Pelosi and her party. And that's why I loved about Marxism, because Marxism can explain when countries go against their own so-called interest, as in security interest, economic interest, whatever you want to call it. And this is the biggest limitation of the realist theory of international relations. They don't understand that politics is conducted by people. It's not conducted by robots.
Yeah, no, that is a good point.
Interest. This is our.
But I mean, that's why me too, man. That's why I asked you that exact question. I was like, I would understand if the Biden administration and all of them decided to make this move, right? And,
yes,
that I would understand. And even with everything you just said, that, it wouldn't be for their own good, even really, it's not good, but you make sure. But the fact that Nancy Pelosi said it, like, I couldn't wrap my head around one reason that, like, she would, like, want to kind of do it. But I guess,
scale,
yeah, no, even in a small scale. No, even on a small scale, I was trying to think. But I mean, you pointed out some, some things. I would understand it. Honestly, I would understand if the exact same move was done by the Biden administration. So if they sent, like, Blinken or someone or something like that. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't.
Even if it's still exactly just like you said, stupid or like small or like all that.
I agree, but I would say executive branch in the US gets its mandate from mass people from all of the country. But the speaker gets its mandate from a very small group.
Yeah, of course, from wherever they're from, they're whatever she's from, her district and all that, understand it. But I would have imagined that across the US, there will be a bigger, more worthwhile population ratio percentage than like just her district in California. But I
disagree.
I do. I mean, that I don't know anything. So that was just my, assumption. It could be the other way around. But no, yeah, you're absolutely, that's a very good point. That you made, but yeah.
No, yeah, I mean, we can disagree on how anti, I guess, China or anti-global are the American population, but I think this idea that politicians are acting out of the national interest, you have to be very detailed about whether the is in the executive, whether it's in the legislation, what is their background, who is backing them. And that's why like I found this. I'm not a Marxist. I don't think I'm even on the left, but I do think in Marxist and leftist literature, this is what I found. In right wing and realist, so-called realist literature, what you find is a bunch of frankly nonsense about ideals and goals that I'm not sure a lot of people who are actually doing things are
Yeah. No, 100%.
follow.
And listen, there's
Yeah, so
soft science theories. There's soft science theories. So of course I've seen
that's a
it.
great.
I've read the
Yeah,
literature,
fair
and
enough.
they do back it with empirical stuff all the time. It's not blah blah blah. But it still means that it only applies to a certain
Like a limit.
limitation. And if you keep on going at it, it's just its flaws are countless.
No, that's a great
For sure.
soft
Although I think
science.
they are more accurate than the liberals, I want to say, because I mean I do think that states are by
Liberalism is a
far the
religion,
most
really.
powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And the funny thing is that they believe it's also the reality.
so
At
true.
least the time that I had studied it, that's how I was told. But yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, you can say it doesn't factor in like human errors or like doing it for other reasons. So some things like the Iraq War, you can argue bad for the U.S. nation, but good for like corporations or something who sold guns, right? But this
Very
one was a
much.
funny one, though. I think this one was just on the limits of insanity, unless you kind of take into consideration really, like you're right, her base in California and like her district. If it worth it there for you, then I wish you
Maybe.
all the best. I don't know what to say. But
No,
yeah,
that's a fair
you're
point.
right about that. All right, Sam, let's wrap up today's show with just by touching on Russia, Ukraine relatively quickly. So yeah, I think you've heard of this news story. I don't know if you want me to play it a bit or some comments.
No,
Involving the basketball player, I believe, female basketball player.
Yeah, apparently she's been convicted of, I don't know, carrying drugs or whatever. So they sentenced her to 9 years in prison, but now US is trying to negotiate her release in an exchange, like a prison thing and all that. And I just want to say, if you are American and you go to Russia, don't fucking. I mean, I don't understand this. Like, if you're Russian, you go to. It's like carrying.
Oh yeah, that's
like,
for sure. But hold on, let me hear. Yeah, hold on. Let's see exactly what you had on her.
A Russian court has found U.S. basketball player Brittany Griner guilty of drugs possession and smuggling. She has been sentenced to 9 years in jail. The sports star was arrested for carrying a vape pen and cartridges in her luggage, which contained marijuana oil.
Oh, so she had the cartridges too? Yeah, I thought maybe, if it was a mistake. It
wasn't even marijuana.
No, but marijuana oil is marijuana.
Huh?
It's just the oil version of it to smoke out of your vape.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it has THC. I mean, if what you're banning is THC, both of them have it.
All right. Yeah. Well, whatever.
And then, no, it's not whatever. That's what made it a drug, but yeah. As banned substance. Yeah. But yeah, I see. Yeah, but I mean, it's sad and sucks for her, but I mean, seriously, can't, especially, I mean, maybe she didn't do it on purpose and she just forgot, but yeah, don't take drugs over international borders.
Yeah. Especially if you're from a country that is antagonist to the other country, that would be like a real.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
No, you have to double check. I mean, you should see my
whole thing.
My dad's paranoia about these kind of things, like the warnings that he gives me. It's like that pocket. I was like, what do you think happens? Which pockets are you talking about? Yes, I'll check them all.
Man, as you know, my grandmother's house is in front of our house in the same alley, right? And I wear shorts to just go to my grandmother's house, with like tank tops or whatever. And my dad is like, if police sees you, like, why would you do this? Like 40 years ago, like, it's like, no, I told you, I will not rescue you. Okay, all right. But I must say, I feel like can't she just go like and escape? Like it seems like, I'm sorry, but she seems like capable of like
Yeah,
killing.
she seemed quite tall compared to the rest. Yeah. I believe she's a basketball player, so.
Yeah, that.
And those are some small feet. Yeah, the guard is up to her shoulder.
Yeah, and as we know from as far as I understand, Russian ladies are quite tall. So.
Yeah, true. Well, can always be exceptions. But yeah. I mean, yeah, she'll probably definitely get swapped for someone. Yeah. I mean, they've been trying,
look,
but yeah, I hope so too.
So in a sense that I don't think she
100%
deserves to be in jail. So.
Definitely, and she will hopefully get swapped. Who do the Russians want? maybe I know a guy who can facilitate.
They want a guy, the famous guy from America. They used to call him Merchant of Death or something. Apparently, there has been talks that they want a guy who is in jail in Germany, but it's not clear if that.
So they don't want Hunter?
Just a rumor. We take Hunter for for everything.
Take Hunter. We'll surrender in Ukraine if you give us Hunter.
We'll give you Putin's personal email. Just give us Hunter. So.
Oh my god, that's funny. Okay, and finally, I mean, useful idiots. I mean, does this show, the one where they show on Mondays, does it exclusively cover Russia, Ukraine? Honestly, I'm asking.
This, no.
Or they cover all Sunday morning show?
No, but I mean, they in the Monday morning one, they cover all the Sunday morning show. It's not supposed to be exclusively about Russia. It's like 90% of times about Russia and Central, like like the domestic politics, Joe Manchin and all that. I mean, it's fucking so bad, man. It's so bad. But this one is a bit more like, this one is the one with about like weird news, fucked up news. And even this is, frankly, this is not funny anymore. Anyway, I unsubscribed, so.
I see. All right, well, I haven't watched it, so I mean, I don't have much to say. Anything else you'd like to comment on this
video? This was okay. It was a journalist in Ukraine. She was good. But then usually this is neither funny nor entertaining anymore. Just like I used to like their pre-interview show more than their interviews. Now it's just like, okay, I'm gonna fast forward. It's just so sorry.
Got you. Well,
no jokes.
Well, okay, all right. Well, I feel like a lot of Katie Halper today would also just in this show and the previous show recorded. But okay, folks, please leave your comments, question, criticism down below and make sure to get to them. If not, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in our next video. Thank you.